Education sector is one big sector that needs the attention of all, and for those in Lagos State, students as well as lecturers and workers, they have been complaining that, well, it doesn't seem that something good has come into the university. We're trying to look at the LASU crisis, and joining us to look at that is the LASU chairman, Dr. Adekunle Idris. Good morning and thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
You know, sometimes you pick up the papers, you get to read so many things about LASU, and when you think that it will be resolved, you get to hear another story, you get to hear another one, on and on it goes. For those who don't really understand what is happening in LASU at the moment, bring us up to speed. What is the crisis about in LASU?
Thank you very much. It's unfortunate that we're here again to talk about another issue. The last time we were here, it was about school fees. Currently, there are some issues between the university administration and the workforce. We spilled over from the last struggle. Issues such as victimization issues, arrears of salary arrears that have been outstanding since about 2010, issues of promotion with members of staff, issues of the inability of the Vice Chancellor to run the university properly, inability to generate income for the university, dependence on government all the time, and so many other issues. But we've been talking, and we had thought that in the course of discussions, when we agree on certain issues and document the agreements, they will be followed. But that's not what we're facing currently. And the last time we went on a struggle, it was resolved. And until it was resolved, we had some agreements, but the agreements were not implemented by the university administration. And what do we see after that? Union leaders were picked up, and the victimization process started. And we felt that should not happen in a university environment. And we started discussion with the governing council. We had some meetings last week. We had one on Monday. We had another one on Saturday. And we were to meet, we fixed another one for tomorrow. And before we met on Saturday, they went ahead and had meetings with the students, and therefore agreed on resumption on Monday to call the students back on Monday.
That's Monday this week?
Yes, Monday this week, 2 days ago. But we have been working anyway, so they were on strike. The Vice Administration was on strike. Now that they have called back the students, we've started teaching the students on Monday.
Who have you been meeting with when you say you've been meeting with the school authority?
First with government. We met with government initially, and the crisis got to a crescendo on the 16th of March this year, when the workforce felt the impunity was getting too much, and so worked out the Vice Chancellor. Mainly the non-academics gave some ultimatum to the university authorities, and the Vice Chancellor came in and did not look at these issues, and that led into that crisis of 16. Then the government called us. We had a meeting with them on March 17th, the next day, and they promised to get back to us after that March 17th. But as we speak, there's been no feedback from them. That was before elections, and of course the elections are over. So
you don't think it was compounded after the meeting you had, and you also said that he was no longer the Vice Chancellor, and also said that he would not oversee the convocation ceremonies of the school?
You see, as ASU, we passed a vote of no confidence on the Vice Chancellor for several reasons on the 19th of November last year. And we believe that we should not allow our students to be the grass that suffers when this type of thing happens. And so we said, look, in spite of that, we'll continue our duties. So we were teaching on, and we're still teaching. But they then decided to close the school. They claimed for the purpose of election. And of course, our students were outside for 8 weeks just because of elections. And we
Who
felt
decided
that was
to close the school?
The university administration.
Not the government.
No, the bulletin said that the management has decided to close the school. That's what the bulletin says. So we don't know whether on the directive of government or not.
Are you suspecting that the closure of the school was tied to the issues you're having, not necessarily the elections?
Well, from what has played out now, it will appear so, but we want to believe that government will be honest enough to say whatever it is. The bulletin says the school should go on recess for the purpose of election. And normally in academic environment, it is the Senate that decides such things. You don't close schools without Senate meeting. That is the job of Senate because of the autonomy of the universities.
Okay, so what exactly is the role of the Senate here if ASU, is the one declaring a vote of no confidence and claiming to have sacked the Vice Chancellor?
No employer has the right to sack any Vice Chancellor. No employee has the right to sack the Vice Chancellor because we didn't employ him. We're not saying we sacked him. Every union has its own processes. As ASU, we have the right to decide that having gone through all these problems with this leadership of the university, we no longer can work with you. That's not to say that we'll not do our duties. We will do our duties, but we'll be communicating with you by writing, documenting everything, because we now know that we cannot trust that government. We cannot trust that Vice Chancellor. That's simply what you have said.
Okay,
you can't sack him.
I'm trying to get, certain explanations. You did say that at some point, when the impunity was too much, some unions or another union walked out the Vice Chancellor. Was that what I heard you say?
The university community walked out the Vice Chancellor, yes. That was what happened that day.
So what was the impunity that was too much that, necessitated what might seem like another impunity, it would seem?
When you have a situation where people do not allow peace and dialogue to solve problems, you have reactions from the led. When the leadership feels that you know much more, this paternalistic style of management, feel you know more than what the led should be having, and you decide not to follow any of the rules of the institution. You have such situations on your hand. But let's just look from the point of view of ASU. The last time we were here, we were talking about the issues of school fees and all that, and haven't achieved that. Thereafter, we now have a situation where the university administration began to victimize union leaders. There was a professor, a 63-year-old professor, professor long-standing. They went back and said that there were certain letters written to him 7 years back. That was after the strike. This man wrote an open letter to the governor complaining that the school fees was too high and it should be brought down. And because of his activity during that struggle, they went back and brought a letter written 7 years ago to a contractor, but simply copied to him. And then they started exchanging letters. And he was said to have been rude to the registrar and was interdicted. Interdiction is for criminal offenses, and that means half salary. And the man was placed on half salary. The union wrote to the university administration, and we were simply ignored. That was wrong. That was an impunity.
Well,
thereafter,
Mark raised a very important point. Impunity shouldn't beget impunity, and that is what she's pointed out there. Very quickly, because we're trying to see how much we can take from you and possibly look at ways of resolving all of this. I want to look at three main issues here that you also raised. We talked about withdrawal of certificates.
that's right.
Tell us more on that. How true is that? Maybe a lecturer in the university, your certificate or your doctorate has been withdrawn. Is that what you go through in LASU?
That is what we have on ground right now. After that struggle, where the certificate withdrawn was mine. After the struggle, and this issue of
yours.
It's mine. I'm the person involved, and that's why most times you don't want to talk about yourself, because this is a struggle for everybody. After the struggle, they went back to the department, went through scripts and all that, and found nothing in the scripts, seminar papers, and then they came up and said that, look, the crafting of the certificate was faulty, according to them. They had this meeting from 10 in the morning till about 7:30 in the evening. And the documents meant for members of Senate to consider were hidden inside another file, not sent to Senate members. And then by 7 o'clock, when they were left, when only 15 persons were left, they then took a decision to withdraw the certificates. Now, the Department of BizAdmin so far had given out 19 PhD degrees. 5 had no issue about the crafting of the certificates. 14 were, according to them, not properly crafted. Then 12 were reissued before any panel at all was set up, leaving 2 of us, myself and one other person who happens to be a collateral damage, an outsider, whose certificate was exactly crafted like mine. So there's no way they could have given his without the world shouting. So he's just suffering for that, and he's an outsider. Now the question is this. I applied for PhD Business Administration. Under business, we have several areas of specialization. Could be marketing, could be operations, research, and so on, several other areas. There were 2 other persons before me that wrote their thesis in marketing, and I wrote mine in marketing too. These other 2 were also given PhD Biz Admin, specialization in marketing. I was the 3rd person that had that. And so when this crisis came up, they now had to say they are withdrawing. Now the question to ask is this. When you withdraw a certificate, is it the certificate you are withdrawing or the degree? There are 2 different things. There's a difference between the degree and the certificate. The certificate is just the evidence that you have obtained this qualification, this training. But the training remains. That's why you find some persons having statement of results for several years. The degree remains. It is the certificate they still have not obtained. So when you said you have wrongly crafted the certificate, which is what they said, they claim that certificate was not properly written. It should have been business administration, not business administration specialization in marketing, as was done for everybody. But the VC went on air to say that he's now a mister, he's no longer a doctor, which means you are withdrawing the degree and not the certificate. And there are 2 different things. Can a student award himself a certificate or a degree? If you look at the process of awarding degrees, it's a rigorous process. You go through the departmental board, you go through the faculty board, the PG board, quality control of the PG school. Then it goes to Senate. From Senate now, it's now approved by the university, and then the vice chancellor, the current vice chancellor that's withdrawing the certificate, now sign the certificate. And now because the person is a unionist, so you now say you are withdrawing the certificate.
Does the vice chancellor